but I find that writing it has so much power, because I do think that every day you need to hear something different coming from yourself, and then it becomes so much easier to do it. When I'm making a decision, I'm a Libra rising, so for me making a decision is super difficult. Kind of clears your head as well. In February, I started journaling. It's something that I had been wanting to try for such a long time. I've discovered so many ways to journal. Today, we are going to talk about how to journal. How to journal for self-growth, how to journal for self-care, and things that can help you every day to feel better. First of all, I used 2 journals. I started with this one, which is so beautiful. My sister got it for me for Christmas. I love it. I love the pages. Like, the feeling of the pages is so amazing. The only thing that was a bit tricky for me was that it's a soft page, which means that I always have to be on a table to write, and I want to be able to journal from everywhere. So I've switched to the Moleskine notebook, which I love because green is my favorite color. It's smaller in size, so it's easier to carry around. So I've been using these 2. The first thing about journaling is there's no rule to journaling. You journal the way you want to journal. You make it what you need it to be. So if journaling for you is making lists, writing your everyday life, you do you. When it comes to journaling, what I'm doing mostly is I just write whatever comes to my mind whenever it comes. I try to journal in the morning and again throughout the day, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and I've learned not to blame myself for it. I've learned to be kinder to myself about that, and I'm trying to make a conscious effort to really include it in my everyday morning routine, but sometimes that just doesn't happen, and that's fine. I also write just for me, so I don't think about the fact that someone could read it. It's a safe space. It's a place that is just for you and your mind and your thoughts, and not a place for you to blame yourself or to criticize yourself. It's really a place for you to just like let everything go, and that's like the first way you can journal. Writing your stream of consciousness, writing how you're feeling about your day, your mood, things like that. And for that, I use this one. I wanted a smaller one, but also a hardcover just for that, so that I can really bring it everywhere. But I really wanted to keep using this one. So this one is the one that I'm mostly using for everything that I'm going to talk about now. The second thing you can use your journal for is morning affirmations. I would usually do it like during my meditation in the morning, but I find that writing it has so much power, and so I use this one for that as well. I just start my day with writing affirmations, and again, whatever comes to my mind, because I do think that every day you need to hear something different coming from yourself. This is very helpful to have kind of this on paper that you can read again, and I just love doing morning affirmations. I find that it's really helpful, but I don't always do it in the morning. Yesterday, I did it in the middle of the afternoon. I had kind of a positivity slump, you could say, and I really needed to kind of focus on, okay, that's fine. Another way I use my journal is write about my dream life. I'm a big fan of manifestation. I think once you can really see your end goal and feel your end goal, it's so much easier for you to work and give it your all, but also be positive and think that every little thing that you do every day works towards you having the life of your dream. And so writing about it also really helps. And same again, every day it's different. Some days it's about my work life, some days it's about my personal life, some days it's about physical things that I will have, like a house and my family and stuff like that. So really having it on paper and being able to read it throughout the day. The other thing that's been incredibly helpful has been recommended by my therapist, and it's been focusing more on my negative self-talk. We had noticed that I'm super critical of myself. She told me behind every negative thought there's a fear, so you need to identify that fear. So she asked me to, whenever I would have a negative thought, whenever I would think something like I cannot do this, I will never achieve that, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm not like that, and I should be like that. It's to think about the fear behind it and identify it, and then turn my negative thought into a positive. So I started by doing it mentally, to be honest, because we were on vacation. If you haven't seen it, I have a few vlogs up there and one coming. And whenever I would have a negative thought, I would stop and I would be like, okay, but what's your fear behind this? And then once I would have identified that fear, I would be turning it into a positive, and I would feel so much better. And so I started doing that in writing now that I'm back home and actually have access to my journals, and it's been incredibly life-changing for me. And if you're like that, I mean, everyone has negative self-talk, some more than others, that's just it. But if you really start to make it a habit to really think about your fears and what's holding you back, game changer. Another thing you can use your journal for is to think about why you are procrastinating. If you watched my previous video on things I learned on TikToks, there's one about procrastination. The lady talks about, like, I will have it linked up here, but the lady basically tells you that you do not procrastinate to procrastinate. You procrastinate because it's a way for you to avoid something you don't want to do that stresses you out. And so for me, thinking about that, I'm like, okay, so whenever I'm procrastinating doing something, a task or whatever, I will take my journal and I will say, why do I procrastinate doing this? And then I will start to really think about, what are my fears behind that? Why does it stresses me out? For example, paperwork. I do not like it. I've never liked it. When I was like in school and stuff like that, doing paperwork for school would stress me out so much I would wait until the last second to do it. That's not good. But that's because for me, formalities really stress me out, and I'm always scared that I'm going to do something wrong. I'm always scared that I'm going to be told off or something. And so writing it out, I was like, that's why. But you are allowed to make mistakes. You are allowed not to know how to do something. You are allowed to basically not be perfect. And that takes the fear away so much, and then I can breathe. And whenever that fear comes up, I go back to my journal. Either I write again if I need to, or I go back to that page and I read it again, and I'm like, yeah, that's why. And then it becomes so much easier to do it. If you're having a bad day, if you do not feel confident that day, you do not feel optimistic, positive, I would really want you to take your journal and make a list of your qualities, of your skills, of what you're good at, everything that is good about you, everything that you're good at, everything that you're capable of. It will make you really see yourself through other people's eyes as well, which is not always easy. And sometimes we're so hard on ourselves and we're like, yeah, but I would never talk like this. I would never say things like that to my best friend or my sister or brother or someone that I really, really love. And so having it on paper, it's like seeing yourself through another lens that you never get to see, and can totally turn your day around. I love lists. Okay? Just like know that I love lists. When I'm making a decision, I'm a Libra rising, so for me making a decision is super difficult. And also, I'm so scared of making the wrong choice that it's even harder. But pros and cons lists are pretty amazing. So whenever I have like a big decision to make, or I'm thinking about something and I'm like, is it really a good decision? I take my journal and I make a pros and cons list, and it's been so helpful for me to see both sides, because sometimes you want something so much that you see only the positive aspects of that decision, but you also need to take into account the negatives. And sometimes you only see the negatives and you don't see the positives, and it kind of clears your head as well to have it all on paper, have it all in a safe space, a space where you are honest with yourself, where you really get into the root of things. And I mean, lists are pretty amazing. Another thing that's really helpful for you when you don't feel great, or even if you do feel great, to be honest, it's to write about your big and little wins. Sometimes I feel like I'm nearly 27 and I haven't achieved as much as I thought I would by that age, to be completely honest. And then I'm like, okay, but I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. And then I'm like, okay, and there's also the little things that I've done. Like, it's all the little things that you have been able to accomplish. It's your big and small accomplishments, basically. physically. It's really like linked with the last thing that I wanted to talk about, which is gratitude. And honestly, on days when I feel pretty dark, it's really helpful for me to write about what I'm grateful for. And oftentimes the things come back again and again, and I'm like, I've already written about that like 3 days in a row. But it really means that it's something that's super important for me that I have in my life. Having a list of everything you've accomplished, having a list of everything you're grateful for, having a list of your qualities, your skills, what you're good at is so helpful. Journaling, those two, can totally change your life and help you grow as a person, but also take care of yourself more deeply. Self-care is so many things, but honestly, taking care of your mental health should be a priority and should be really something you need to take care of. And if you're here, if you're watching this video, it's already a first step if you're just starting your journey, and I'm very excited to have you here. Honestly, journaling can look however you want it to be. Once you've started picking a pen and a notebook, you're journaling. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you're well, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.